Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying your week. I'm going to be on here to discuss the Methodist Church and the schism of 1844. I call it the Great Divide because it is that. And just to kind of get this started, I do want to share with you this image here of uh, Francis Asbury, and this is a statue of him in Washington D.C. As a circuit rider, we can give him credit for um, really spreading Methodism throughout the United States and that large increase during the Second Great Awakening. Now, the Great Schism is going to be a factor of basically three main issues within the United Methodist Church within this time period. The first is there's not going to be any central authority within the church. We obviously have the founders, right, of Wesley, George Whitefield, even arguably Francis Asbury. Um, and both Francis Asbury and John Wesley, they are going to adamantly oppose slavery in the Methodist Church. In fact, John Wesley writes thoughts upon slavery, and on page 25, he actually states, hence, if their food was not prepared, they are sometimes called to labor again before they can satisfy their hunger, and no excuse will avail. If they are not in the field immediately, they will expect to feel the lash. Did the Creator intend that the noblest creature in the visible world should live such a life as this? Are these thy glorious works, parent of good? So John Wesley saw the soul as equal. Didn't matter if they were black, if they were white, the soul is equal in the eyes of God. Uh, but his word and all of his expressions upon his ideas of slavery was not uh, the central authority on the piece, because ultimately the rapid increase in the church will become almost a priority over the founding's belief, or the founders' beliefs or ideas on slavery. So that will actually be put on the back burner while membership is going to be the first priority. And I think the best example of that is when we see um, Francis Asbury, uh, his priority in membership is going to supersede uh, that of slavery. He was against slavery, but he's going to be more focused on creating new membership in the southern states within the United States, because that is where you find a lot of pro-slavery advocates, just due to the economic institution and the economic need of these plantation systems. And that's cited from David Hempton's Methodism's Rise and Fall on page 205. So the second important point I want to get across is this rapid increase in church membership. It's going to affect the church in the United States much differently than that in Great Britain. And in fact, it's going to divide them almost on an ideological basis by itself. So Edward Matthews actually wrote a piece in the Manchester Guardian called Methodism and Slavery. And he wrote this piece back in 1857. So this was after the General Conference of 1844. But he's going to point out that the British churches declared that slaveholders were unfit for church membership. Methodist minister from South Carolina was actually rejected because he belonged to a pro-slavery church. So the views on slavery are going to greatly differ from the views of that in Great Britain. Great Britain is going to interpret them entirely different than that of the United States. But the United States is a diverse range of political ideas. They're influenced more by cultural events taking place. And because of that, because the members of this church are so influenced by that, because there is no central figure, you're going to have these diverse interpretations, and it will make the church more susceptible to political events than maintaining their own church doctrine. And so this is actually seen through Henry Bascom's work called Methodism and Slavery with Other Matters in Controversy Between the North and the South. He's going to write on page 68 about a political argument versus one that is religious in regards to James Andrews' expulsion or not being permitted to preach within the Methodist Church. The General Conference comes in with its powers and limitations as a constitutional arrangement, but the restrictions upon it are no more than the Constitution. So there's going to be more political debates than there are doctrinal ones, all right, within the church itself, especially during the General Conference of 1844. And just to be clear, the General Conference of 1844 is going to divide the church between minister and clergy that accept slaveholders as members, as clergy of the church. The church in the North, so you have Northern conservatives as well as anti-slavery advocates. They're going to primarily oppose this idea and be more drawn to John Wesley's ideas about slavery itself. And so these two divisions are ultimately going to create this great divide. It was only a matter of time due to the diverse interpretation of slavery, due to the rapid increase in church membership, and the fact that there was a lack of central authority within the church. They strayed from the actual fundamental pieces of the Bible. While some pro-slavery ministers did argue for slavery using the Bible as justification for that, you also find counterpoints within the Bible that go against these ideas. And so the only work, at least that I found within my research, was John Wesley's thoughts upon slavery, where he did utilize or question certain statements within the Bible and actually used it as more of a guide to approach the issue of slavery. And so it's almost as if they were susceptible to political events much more so than the actual doctrine of the Methodist Church. So it's a complicated issue, but I highly recommend that you guys look into the Methodist Church a bit, especially during this time period. It's very interesting. But other than that, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. Thank you.